Hi, my name is Christine, and I'm going to be presenting about the Medical Cannabis Research Act of 2019. I have here the PowerPoint, but I've also attached the PowerPoint to the submission assignment for additional information because it's hard to see. Let's see. So, medical cannabis has always been a highly controversial issue in regards to its positive effect on patients. A recent policy, H.R. 601, Medical Cannabis Research Act of 2019, aims to conduct medical cannabis research to benefit veterans in the United States. The aim of this paper is to explore the social, economic, and political aspects of this policy and to propose alternatives to address the issues in this policy. Most of the United States has already legalized medical cannabis use in some forms, and many more states are on board, almost legalizing medical cannabis. However, medical cannabis is still not approved on the federal level. The FDA has actually only approved it for two severe forms of epilepsy, Lennox-Gastaut syndrome and Dravet syndrome. Most people are curious as to why there has not been more research completed because the U.S. Drug Enforcement and Administration considers cannabis as a Schedule I drug, along with ecstasy, LSD, and heroin. Therefore, they believe that cannabis is lacking in medical value. Currently, cannabis research is limited by legal constraints that prevent institutions from properly studying the therapeutic effects of cannabis. In response to these questions regarding medical cannabis use comes Policy H.R. 601, Medical Cannabis Research Act of 2019, initiated in January 2019. In this act, they will increase the manufacturers that are listed under the Controlled Substances Act to produce cannabis for appropriate research purposes. Additionally, this act will allow providers to give recommendations to veterans to participate in federally approved cannabis research clinical trials. So a little bit of background. The development of this policy also includes many other bills in addition to H.R. 601. 33 states have access to legal cannabis. There are many veterans that seek treatment for chronic pain and for post-traumatic stress disorder, but they are afraid to seek treatment because of the federal cannabis laws. One of the core political issues regarding this act is the VA actually opposes it. This is due to the fact that many veterans are afraid to participate. If they participate and are tested positive for the drug, they may lose all their benefits. This is why H.R. 1647, Veterans Equal Access Act, was created. This act authorizes VA health providers to recommend VA patients to participate in cannabis programs. Representative Earl Blumenauer stated that VA opioid overdose is 2 times the national average and medical cannabis is less addictive. According to the CDC, about 68% of the total of 70,200 drug overdose deaths involved in opioids. In comparison to opioid use, overdose from marijuana is very unlikely. The last bill is H.R. 2191, Veterans Cannabis Use for Safe Healing Act, that prevents veterans from losing all their benefits if they participate in a state-approved cannabis program. These 3 bills, however, are not supported because cannabis is still a Schedule I drug. The ethical issue here is that Schedule I drugs are considered to have a high likelihood of abuse with no accepted medical use. Cannabis abuse has always consistently been the substance most used in the United States. There is the ethical issue that many adolescents who smoke marijuana end up with other issues such as STDs, early school dropout, legal problems, and delinquency. Furthermore, 4.3% of Americans are addicted to cannabis. Socially, people are against the bill. Move on to the next slide. Socially, people are against the bill because cannabis has been associated with decreased work performance and motivation. Additionally, people can argue that it affects the patient's social life and cognition. They are likely to have decreased motivation and will not interact with others and can lose their jobs as a result. Economically, it has already been shown by legalization in the 33 states that cannabis has made a lot of capital. After January 1st, 2018, California legalized marijuana with the 15% statewide tax on all medical marijuana sales. Therefore, legalization of marijuana has helped to create a new source of income for the government. Although there are many issues with this policy, it has high potential to benefit medical research regarding cannabis use. So I'm moving on to the recommendations and proposed alternatives now. So one of the most significant issues with cannabis is the fact that it is a Schedule 1 drug. Therefore, one of my proposed alternatives is to reclassify marijuana so that many people can benefit from the therapeutic effects of medical cannabis. A lot of research has been completed showing that cannabis does not fit into all three of the Schedule 1 requirements. Marijuana does not have the same potential for abuse compared to cocaine or heroin. Marijuana is actually not very addictive, and therefore there's actually a lot of research supporting the medical use of marijuana. For example, it is known for its medical use as an antiemetic, reducing spasticity and alleviating chronic pain. Many people are confused because despite the legalization of marijuana, there are many restrictions due to the drug class. Since 1972, however, there have been many petitions to reschedule cannabis, but have failed to do so because there is still no currently accepted medical use. Therefore, more research needs to be completed to reschedule the drug. This leads to the second alternative, which is to conduct more research on different group of patients that can highly benefit from medical cannabis use. For example, there is a reason that medical cannabis use has been approved for the two rare forms of epilepsy, Lennox-Gastaut and Dravet. Because of many clinical trials, cannabis use has had great potential for treating pediatric epilepsy. For example, a study was conducted on 117 parents who administered cannabis products to their children, and 88% of all parents reported that their children had a reduction in seizure frequency. Through the study, they found that 53% of the children reported improved sleep, 71% reported alertness, and 63% reported increased mood. Therefore, since the federal government has approved medical cannabis use for this group, we should focus on researching a different group that may be approved without the social stigma attached with cannabis abuse. One such patient population can include oncology patients who suffer from chronic pain and chemotherapy-induced nausea. HR 601 is aimed to conduct more clinical research in veterans. However, there is huge social, ethical, and political dispute regarding veteran use. We could take a step closer by approving this federal policy if more research is conducted in oncology patients. Thank you very much.